Adam Caplan, ESPN, NFL Insider, NFL Insiders. He joins us now to take a look at moving forward here at 5-4, Adam. That was a big win for this team, but they did it in a way that they might have created an identity for themselves finally yesterday, running the football the way they did.
Well, Mike, good to talk to you. Yeah, their game plans. It's interesting. They were going into the game after they had watched the Atlanta offense. Said, you know what, we got to keep Matt Ryan on the NFL's best offense off the field. So their goal was they were going to control the clock, run the football, run it like they haven't run it this season, make a commitment to it. And as you saw, the result was over 200 yards rushing, and help their defense out, which was undermanned at corner, and even more undermanned than they thought it would be with Nolan Carroll suffering this concussion. And they just got through it. I mean, it was a great game plan from the club. And I'll be honest with you, the Eagles' coaching, for the most part, has been fantastic, way better than the previous regime's coaching job. And I think coaching has been really big for this football team. This staff has done, by and large, a fantastic job, and it's the reason why they're probably going to, as a football team, I think, exceed expectations.
Well, they're at 5 wins right now, and rookie quarterback. You got a rookie corner playing on Julio Jones yesterday. A lot of rookie right tackle. Smallwood had so there's a lot of growing pains that they're kind of getting through here. But my question really comes, Adam. They ran the ball well yesterday, but is that because, that's a weakness of the Falcons, or is this an identity that they can really build off of? Can they keep winning games in this same fashion with the wide receivers who gave them nothing yesterday?
Well, a couple things. To your latter point, the receivers, as we know, have been an absolute disaster, all year. And I think what's got to happen here is they'll address it in the offseason. They'll address it in free agency. They'll address it in the draft in a major way. They need 2 starting outside receivers. If Jordan Mathews is used the way that most people think he should be used, he's an inside receiver. That's where he's best. He's not really good on the outside. Nothing has changed. He does what he can on the outside because they have really no one else they could depend on. And this is bringing the team down. The lack of production, and it's not because they don't want to throw it to him. It's just because these guys can't get open, and you have to do what you have to do. And the reason why that they're not getting the football is because the coaches are each week, unlike the previous coaching staff, they go with what we call 1-week game plans. What's it going to take for this team to win? And what they're doing is this past week was to run the football because Atlanta's got the best offense. They want to keep Atlanta's offense off the field, so they did it. That was very good coaching. Now in Seattle, much better defense, obviously one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in the National Football League. It's going to take something from the receivers, or maybe Zach Ertz, who's really come alive the last 2 weeks. But the fact of the matter is they look at this as a 1-game season each week, which is really the best way to coach. Your job is to coach against and manage against the opponent, and that's what this coaching staff has done really on both sides of the football each week.
Yeah, and Adam, you wonder, they use a game like yesterday to set something up for down the road where everything was underneath, kind of, between the hash marks. They ran the ball, they went to the flat, but if, they show that consistently for a week or two, does that open up some more things for them down the road?
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything to do with it. I think it's just about this is our game plan. And by the way, you speak of the running game, Ryan Mathews is a guy they simply could not depend on at all this season. He was banged up. He had the ankle injury. He actually had more than one injury. He had an ankle injury which seemingly lasted 6 to 8 weeks. The fact of the matter is, then he had some kind of tooth injury. I don't know what that was about, but they simply couldn't call on his number. He had a fumbling problem. He seemed to lack confidence. And I just think that they made a decision collectively, the coaching staff did, that they're going to give him another shot. That was their plan. My understanding going in is that they were going to get him involved. And another thing, who starts a running back is completely irrelevant. When you hear a coach say, well, this guy's going to be our starting running back this week, that only means who's out there for the first offensive play of the game. It means nothing else. So people need to be careful what you're reading to when coaches say, or it's reported a guy's starting. It only means who's out there for the first play. So I think in the end, Mike, this is not a running football team. They know it. Everyone knows it who studied this football team. In fact, talking to teams that have faced them, they know that this is a team that's really is really limited to what they could do offensively. And the defense has to carry the offense. It's obvious.
Yeah, because he mentioned Sproles. It's almost like if he mentions you, you're at the back of the line, right? I mean, yeah, you're the starter this week. Now you're at the back of the line, and someone else comes on. Although Sproles had 8 catches, I think he only had 2 carries yesterday.
Yeah, and let's face it, Mike. You can't run. Darren Sproles is not a guy who's going to last getting double-digit carries every week. That can't happen. Ryan Mathews is their biggest running back. He's got to give them something each week. He's just got to. They've got to somehow get something out of him. And if they don't, it's going to be a problem. Because Barner, they just see as a kickoff returner. And I think Wendell Small is sort of a change-up. Next year, my prediction would be his role would be bigger. But right now, he's not ready for like double-digit carries per week. It's going to be a running back committee, and I think you're going to see that the rest of the season.
Adam Caplan with us as we break down Eagles and Falcons. So, Adam, Jim Schwartz could really be the difference between playoffs and no playoffs with this team. What impressed you the most of the Jim Schwartz unit yesterday?
It's unbelievable. It's not about the sacks. Sacks are a result of one individual play. It's the constant pressure, breaking down the pocket, making Matt Ryan move because he doesn't really move very well. I thought it was a great job. I really did. I thought that was a fantastic job, and I think the coaches, Jim Schwartz and his defensive staff, did a great game plan. And and Corey Unlin, the defensive backs coach, did a great job because remember, Nolan Carroll goes down in the first half, doesn't return with a concussion. Leos McKelvin's playing with a hamstring injury. Not everyone, talking to the Eagles, they weren't sure if he would be able to play, and these guys did a great job. So I would say this about the coaches: this is the reason why they're over 500. The players execute the game plan they're given, and the coaching. This is the best coaching job this season that this organization's seen in several years.
How about Dave Phipp? If you're praising the coaches, the special teams, it's really hard to ignore that unit as well.
Yeah, and they've been great. I mean, the kickoff returns have been great. Kenyon Barner's been great on special teams returns, as Josh Hubb was before he was released. Dave Phipp's one of the top 2 or 3 offense coordinators, special team coaches. He is going to be a head coach someday. It's probably going to surprise people me saying that. But I think someday he will be a head coach. It may not happen next year or the year after, but the talk around the league is this guy's a pretty darn good coach. And a lot of people talk about him. One of the few people you'll hear their name associated with head coaching when they're a special teams coach.
Back in the day, it seemed like Philly was a tough place to play. Then in the Kelly era, that kind of went away, and you're starting to see a team that's getting that home field advantage back, and that really could be the difference whether this team's a playoff team or not. If they can win their home games and maybe steal a road game here or there, that really, having that home field advantage back, it's something that's different because they didn't have that the last couple of years.
Yeah, Mike, a couple things here. So, for number one, they're not going to be a playoff team, and based on what I see, their defense, while it's been overachieving, the problems are going to be a cornerback. But even if they make it, they obviously will not win the division, which means they would play week 1 of the playoffs on the road. You can't host it doesn't work that way. So you wouldn't host if you're a wild card team. The wild card teams must play on the road week 1. So, I've asked the Eagles this the last couple of years why they were so bad at home. They didn't really have an answer. They never really believed it had anything to do with the stadium configuration. And it's simply because the team wasn't very good. Now the team, the Cleveland game, the crowd was loud. They blew out the Browns, and it just listen. They're just playing better. I mean, they're a better football team than they were the last 2 seasons. That's obvious to me, and I'm sure you guys. I don't really put a lot of stock in. Well, the crowd's better or it's loud. I've never believed that. It's simply because the team's better.
Also, last one, Adam Caplan's with us here, ESPN NFL Insiders. Alan Barbie expected back, and they ran the ball really well, and you wonder, why mess with a good thing sometimes, but that should give that offensive line even more of a boost, getting him back. Vaitai settled in as well, and so the offensive line, big factor yesterday, but could get a little boost back this week.
Yeah, Barber's going to practice. I was told it was a 3 to 4 week injury, so we're within that range. They're not giving the thumbs up for him to play yet. They just want to see how he looks. Unless he has a setback, he probably would play. Then the question is, do they want to leave Stefan Wisniewski in there at guard, who's done a nice job lately? I would think Barber would get his job back, because quite frankly, this is the best he's ever played in his career from talking to the Eagles and other teams. And in fact, I was talking to the Seahawks over the weekend. They said he wasn't great when he was there or in Green Bay, but in Philly he's playing his best ball. He didn't play well last year, but the Eagles now have real depth on their offensive line. This is a good thing, the season goes along here.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Evan Mathews story, where he kind of bounced around from team to team, and he came to the Philadelphia Eagles, and all of a sudden he really settled in and became a solid left guard for them. And Barber could be back this week, but they got a lot of injury issues in that secondary. And last night you saw that Seattle team starting to click a little bit more. How do you win a game in New England, then you come back home and you host this Eagles team. You thought the Eagles would be in a really tough spot, maybe facing a Seahawks team that was coming off of a loss. But now you're facing this Seahawks team coming off a win, and it looks like they are now ready to kick it into another gear.
Yeah, a couple things. So the Eagles, as I understand it, will be leaving on Friday for Seattle. Seattle has to take that long trip. That's about a 6-hour flight, 5.5, 6-hour flight from Logan Airport, if that's where they left. Certainly Boston area to Seattle. And, obviously the coach is going to be tired. The players are going to be exhausted. And, Michael Bennett, the Seahawks' best defensive lineman, he's probably going to be very questionable for this week. He is a terrific football player. He's a difference maker. And you got to give the Seahawks credit. That was a great game. By the way, it was a great week of games in Week 10. This is probably the best week for competition. The TV ratings were up, and it was really a good weekend to be an NFL fan. Yeah,
and you didn't have a lot of nights, a lot of games where you were talking about. Now, there were plays where the officials came up. They seem like they've been a story each and every game, each and every week. But that didn't seem like it was a headline story, at least yesterday, for many games. Couple here and there. Obviously, the Bronco ending, they had to explain a little bit there. You had the helmet-to-helmet hit. But the officiating has been a big story. It wasn't as big finally yesterday.
Yeah, it'll be a big story at the competition committee meetings, at the combine, and at the owners' meetings. There's no doubt about it. It always is. I don't have any numbers on this, but it sure seems like there have been more mistakes this season. But they have the toughest job ever. I mean, they by and large, and I know fans like to criticize the officials, they do a very good job, but they're human beings, and as we know, humans are made to make mistakes. It's just the way we are.
At Caplan NFL on Twitter, ESPN NFL Insider on TV, NFL Insiders, NFL Live, here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Good catching up, Adam. Take care, pal.
Guys, thank you.